Hey Spuddies, Potato McWhiskey here, and welcome to Let's Play Civilization 6 Gathering Storm with the New Frontier Pass. Where we left off last time, we had just started earning some of our very first little bits of tourism. One of our main objectives is to try to explore all of this empty land here to the west, because you can't actually generate tourism pressure against people unless you've met them. We're also just generally exploring for new lands to settle. In particular, it would be quite nice if I could get some extra cities over here to the east. That would really help out my victory condition. And this land looks mostly unoccupied. I don't see any loyalty pressure or anything like that. So that's going to be a big feature of this episode. Also working on our ambanzas, which are going to be super helpful increasing our population and our income. The trader in Bukavu cannot quite reach my capital, which means the trade route is a little bit bad. So I'm going to actually move that trader to Katango, because that's going to be just a better trade route. And I'm okay with this city being bad, because I would rather just get a really high quality trade route in Katango. Just grab diplomatic service, which means we want to pick up a spy. I'll also be plugging in Machiavellianism to get those spies a little bit faster. Kinshasa is the best city to get my spy, because it's about to finish an industrial zone that'll have really good adjacency. And the spy already only takes 15 turns, which is a pretty reasonable amount of time for a spy. First great admiral of the game is Santa Cruz, which allows me to form an armada out of a military unit. I'd like to use that in conjunction with a quadrireme, so that I could clear some of these coastal barb camps and stuff. Chop here in Mabanza Nasundi to speed up that neighborhood, getting me 4 era score, and I can begin work on the theater square in here. Let's buy that quadrireme and then instantaneously upgrade it into an armada, getting us some extra era score, and we have a really strong naval unit that can clear out coastal waters. Time to settle the arguably bad city of Mabanza Wembo, but even if it's bad, it does have some really good coastal tiles, so the gold generation potential in here is massive. Drop down a nice +4 harbour in here. I'm going to appoint Liang and get some fisheries as well and put those into this city, because I think Liang is probably the best way to get value from this city. I'm going to grab cartography first for 2 reasons. First of all, I get the +2 gold from fishing boats, which is going to massively increase my economy and allow me to actually purchase my shipyards in my weak cities, which will allow me to use my gold to massively boost my production. I also want cartography so my units can embark on ocean tiles. I need to be able to embark on ocean tiles to get across this water over here with my horsemen and actually find the rest of the players in the game. Brilliantly, we've actually picked up Michelangelo, and his amazing ability is that he actually builds 2 sculptures, which as the Congo we get extra benefits from. Michelangelo has finished placing his sculptures in Banza Congo, and now we get a massive extra 2 food, 2 production, 8 gold, and so a little bit of culture and faith and stuff. Need 194 production to build the harbour in Banza Wembo. And I have about 75 and about 150 production from harvesting this deer tile. I'm going to hold off on harvesting it until I know it'll finish the harbour. Throw down a lumber mill over here in Abanza and Bata. That'll speed up my neighbourhood by 1 turn. And I think it's about time that I threw down my entertainment district. Either that, or I should get some commercial hubs up to start getting some great merchant points. Those are going to be super important to me. There's cartography, and my economy has jumped quite a bit. I'm up to 141 gold per turn. I can finally explore across this open water. And it'll also make getting my units over here to the east much easier as well. Let's work on mass production to get shipyards, and the second we finish shipyards, there's going to be a massive change in how our empire is structured. We have unlocked exploration, giving us access to the Merchant Republic government. This government's great because it gives us 10% gold in all cities with an established governor and a 15% production boost towards our districts. Combined with veterancy, we're going to be able to build our harbours up really quickly. We're going to keep up serfdom and colonization because we're still settling cities. I will plug in Republican Legacy for the extra amenity, because I've been selling off a lot of my luxury resources, which means I'm a little bit starved for amenities, and this is just a great way to get a few extra ones for very little opportunity cost. Let's get to work on naval tradition, because you really want that harbour adjacency card. Now that we have all those extra production boosts, I'm pretty sure 2 chops in here will finish this harbour, which will line up really nicely for when we want to build the shipyard. Oh my god, look at the damage of this armada quadrireme against archers. It's absolutely gorgeous. Second harvest in Mabanza Wembo, instantaneously finishing me a harbour with a really high adjacency. I'm hedging my bets here on the World Congress. I decided to vote for salt because if I remember correctly, that's what got voted down last time. I'm hoping that's still the least popular amenity resource. And I'm hoping to get City Centre 100% production passed so that I could get my monuments and granaries up and also my walls up this era. It looks like wine was banned, which isn't ideal, but the City Centre one did go through, so this is going to be the era where I want to build my walls. Let's plug in the naval infrastructure card for the 100% production from Harbour District. I'm also plug in limes because that stacks really nicely with the World Congress City Centre production. Tribal village on a random island in the middle of nowhere. Got me 40 gold. Let's convert ourselves a crossbowman using this apostle. That's one of the really cool things about Kongo is you have a lot of flexibility in how you can use your apostles because you don't need to worry about spreading your religion, so you can take utility promotions. 15 turns for a +6 production shipyard is going to take a very long time, but I'm hoping that that is worth it. Some of my cities are going to take far too long, and in those ones I'll purchase it. Like for example, Mabuji Mai, it's going to take 26 turns to get that same shipyard. So instead what I'll do is I'll purchase it in here, instantly boosting the city's production from 9 to 14.4. And now it also means that all these coastal tiles are actually usable and workable because they're basically like grassland hills with an extra gold on them, completely unimproved. Not the most amazing tiles, but with the extra production from the shipyard, it kind of makes the city into something acceptable. Yi Sun Sin gives me access to a free ironclad and 1 coal per turn. Not sure if I actually want this ironclad, but I guess it could make for a really good exploration unit. It's an honor to meet you, Simon Bolivar. We would love to sample your hospitality, and we'll also make sure that we establish a resident embassy with you. We can't quite get a friendship, but I would like to at least be on good terms. Speaking of good terms, it's probably a good idea to get my friendships declared with all my neighbors. I don't have to get alliances with them, but friendship at the very least does protect me from war. The debate between art museums and archaeological museums is practically ancient at this point. However, I personally almost always lean towards archaeological museums being better, and that's simply due to the fact that archaeological great works just generate more culture and more tourism. But not only that, as the Congo, we get extra benefits thanks to our abilities. Managed to find Gorgo, who is a bit concerning because she tends to be a really hard opponent in a culture victory. I'll get a resident embassy with her anyway, and open borders to have really good relationships with her. And she might even be willing to buy some of my luxuries for a good price, like my ivory. 10 gold per turn doesn't mean quite as much as it used to, but it's still a worthy amount. At long last, we're able to steal suzerainty of Babylon. That's going to give me a huge boost to my science. Now my great works of writing are actually pumping out science for me, which pretty much makes up for the fact that I have no campuses. Pop down a fishery in Mbanza Wembo. It'll give the city a really good growth tile, but more importantly, it'll actually give the city +1 production, which none of its tiles currently do. Spain is the very last civ that we found in this game. I'll of course give him an embassy. I'm also going to make a deal with him, see if he wants to buy any of my luxuries and if he has any to spare. It looks like he will trade ivory for citrus and salt. It's a pretty damn good deal for me. I'll also do open borders with my good fellow. Got our first settlement on a new continent, Mabumbi. Slap down a harbour in here, of course, because harbours are what makes the world go round. And we'll slowly work away at that. Mercantilism is always a really nice milestone for your game. First of all, it gives you logistics, which is really helpful for moving builders around and improving your territory. Triangular trade is great if you have a ton of trade routes like I do. And it also gives your camp improvements +1 production and +1 food and allows you to build lumber mills on rainforest. Lumber mills on rainforest is a big deal because I have a lot of rainforest tiles that I've been saving for this moment. Because I didn't want to chop them out. Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart is our very first great musician. I only have room for his great works in my capital, but that's totally fine. Gorgo's got quite a few great works of writing now, and they do cost about 33 gold per turn to get 2 of them, but they are worth 2 culture and 2 science for me right now because I'm suzerain of Babylon. But 200 Diplo favor is about as much Diplo favor as you need to buy 2 of these. There'll be a little bit of gold left over, but this syncs up pretty nicely. I'd much rather have those 2 great works of writing myself because it means I'm generating more tourism and Gorgo's generating less culture, which means it's going to be easier to win a culture victory. Although I do kind of need to target Simon Bolivar's culture per turn. I think I want to do some sabotage against him. I'm honestly half tempted to see about training like some privateers and, you know, just pillaging his entire coastline to make his life harder. 13 turns until the next World Congress session. That means I need to start prioritizing all my ancient walls and stuff in my cities, because the 100% boost towards walls is going away very soon, and I'm very close to unlocking conservation. which will give me tourism equivalent to the level of each wall. So ancient walls will give me 1 tourism, medieval walls will give me 2 tourism, and Renaissance walls will give me 3 tourism, for a total of 6 tourism for building all of these walls. And, you know, every production I put into them counts as 3 production, so I can build them super fast. Here we are in the tech tree at mercantilism and colonialism, so we're really only 2 civics away from picking up conservation, which will give us that extra tourism. We're also only a couple of civics away from getting urbanization, which gives +2 science to all of our Renaissance walls, which really helps make up for the fact that we haven't actually built any campuses this game. I'm very happy about getting a golden age in the industrial era. That's because it allows me to pick up Hic sunt Dracones, which gives me +3 starting population for cities settled on a continent different from my capital continent, and +2 movement for naval and embarked units. And since I'm continuing to settle, and I'm mostly trading nationally rather than internationally, I'm going to go for Hic sunt Dracones, which sometimes I say as Huck. Is it Hunt Sick Dracones or something like that? I'm super happy that I managed to pick up Donatello because he actually builds 3 sculptures. I'll need to pick somewhere that I want to put him to get those nice yields out of him. Currently, my #1 problem for culture is Simon Bolivar, since he's making 111 culture per turn. That means he's going to be the hardest person that I have to overtake. You see, I need to get 132 tourists stolen from other civs because he has 131. I think that's why I'm going to go ahead and declare war on him, and maybe even see if I can get some privateers over to his land. But I'm also going to try to drag in other AI players like Spain, for example. So we'll accept that deal. We'll take the 100 grievances. Looks like Dido will join this war quite happily as well. And I don't expect much to come from this war really, but I expect the AI to burn all their units and just waste resources in the war. Picked up my very first archaeological museum in Mabuji Mai, and well, I have to invest another 17 turns into an archaeologist. But that's really not that bad when you consider just how many resources I would have to pump into theatre square projects to get great artists. Since most of the city-states on the map are scientific, I think this is a pretty safe vote here. This time I'm going to vote heavily for theatre squares to get boosted, since I've pretty much built all of the Renaissance walls I can reasonably expect to get this game. I'm very happy about this. I got my trade route selection and I got my theatre square boost. That'll shave quite a few turns off of how quickly it'll take me to get my archaeological and art museums up, which makes me very happy. Archaeological museum in Mbuila is finished, so we'll begin work on the archaeologist. Happily enough, we also have access to water parks now, which means if I don't have room for entertainment complexes or my cities can't cooperate, I can build my theatre squares coastally and still get really good theatre squares. Settling another city on another continent, kaboom, gets me some nice era score from Ha Long Bay, as well as a little bit of extra era score because I think this might be my first city on this particular continent. No, it's the same continent as Amabumbi. But yeah, because of Hic sunt Dracones, this city starts with 4 population. I can instantaneously place down a harbour. And once I do a chop, I'll also be able to place down another district. Finish the art museum in Kinshasa. We'll slap in the sculptures now. And we'll actually take a look at it. So once we get all 3 of these in here, that'll say 6, 6, 12, and 9, 6. That's going to be a massive amount of resources pumping out of a single art museum. Just for curiosity, for a few people, we have actually started to earn a few visitors. We're at 4 out of 145. And I suspect we'll start ramping up our tourist production rapidly next episode. I love you all very much. I hope you guys are enjoying this series, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye!